One loaf made it home.
It happens. All right. All right, Karen. It's great to meet you and talk to you. I'm excited to talk to you about this film, Normal, that I've mentioned that I loved and I thought it was really well written and really well acted. And I just want to kind of get your take on your experience with it and everything. So, if you could start just by introducing yourself, tell me a little bit about your background in film.
Hi, yeah, Karen Konzen. Hi, nice to
Hmm.
meet you, Dave. Thanks for interviewing me for the film. Background in film, actually, is I've been acting my entire life, as long as I can remember, since I was a little kid and did like shows in elementary school. I was terrible then, I was really bad. Um, but yeah, I started doing film, geez, maybe about 15 years ago now. So I'd done primarily stage work and theater work, which I do still do professionally, live theater work as well. But started doing film maybe, I said, maybe 15, geez, maybe 20 years ago now, something like that. And my first film was this kind of cool film noir where I got to like shoot people. And I tend to do a lot of that since then. So this was kind of nice change doing something where I wasn't playing the bad guy for once.
Oh, really? You were like typecast as a bad guy before?
A lot. Yeah, I for a very most of my I think film career up until maybe recently, I was always playing the person who was busy trying to shoot or otherwise harm other people. But played a bad guy a lot, which is really fun. I mean, it's fun to play the bad guy, but it's
Yeah.
really fun to get to do something that isn't that anymore for a little
Yeah.
bit too. So I was excited to do this one with David.
Yeah. As an actor, sometimes you have to have thick skin and not take things personally and not be like, what about me makes you think I'm shooting people and stuff?
Well, I'm actually a good person. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing those films, though. I mean, getting to learn to do some minor stunts, learning to do a lot of that kind of work is just a blast. So I did not take it personally that yeah.
That's cool though. So what made you kind of shift into film? Is it something intentional that you did? Like, okay, I want to try some film stuff now, or is it like an opportunity came to you and you said, okay, let me try that out?
It was really just the opportunity. It hadn't really occurred to me to do much film work here in, or I am in, I work out of St. Augustine, Florida. There isn't always a lot going on. It's not like we're in Atlanta or in LA or anything like that, obviously. And so it never really occurred to me there might be that kind of work going on in indie film. And yeah, I just got the opportunity. A friend of mine was more of theater and doing some acting classes with me, and she had the opportunity to do some extra work on a film. I thought, well, that'd be kind of fun. Let's go do that. And really got introduced to some really great people I still get to work with today, which is awesome. And just yeah, got to have the opportunity and see what it's like being on set, and I enjoyed being in that very completely different world from stage. It was a neat way to use a craft in a very different way.
Do you think, because I do some acting, but I've never done stage stuff. I'm pretty I have some stage fright when it comes to that. But in terms of being in front of the camera, I feel more comfortable. What do you think about that? Like, do you think, having that experience on stage helps you for acting on film, or is it so different that you feel like one doesn't necessarily help with the other, or what do you think about that?
I think for me, it was a huge help to have the big background in stage because I really felt like I knew what I was doing in terms of the craft itself. It was more learning the new environment in which to wield it. And it may not be the same for
Yeah.
everyone, though. I think it's kind of a unique to each actor as to maybe what works best for them. I've definitely heard from a lot, from me anyway, heard from a lot of directors I've ultimately worked with that they really appreciate working with people who have some stage or maybe improv kind of experience. Um, I think it enables you to be much freer in the space that you're in and maybe not quite so uh, more willing to kind of explore outside where you think the camera can see you doing things, and that can really change the way a shot might end up moving and might be better. And so you kind of are more to me anyway, more able to work with the technical side of film, knowing what those parameters are, but knowing how to explore a bit more freely from the stage experience.
Yeah. Well, do you think that your experience doing film then helped you or changed your perspective when you were back doing stage stuff, or not really?
Yeah, I think it really did. I think it's but in particular, I think working with directors who come from film and then do stage work.
Mm.
It's like we can speak the same language a bit more easily. I recently did a stage production with Michael Jacobs, his name might ring some bells in the theater, TV, or the film and TV world. He's been around forever, and he's a Emmy and Oscar-nominated screenwriter, but he's also a playwright. And so he debuted his new play in Jacksonville that I got to do, which was really
awesome.
fabulous. But he really functions like a film director, like a TV director, and where you can go back to one all the time, and you can have a bit more kind of you don't have where you just direct very differently, I think, for film, because you know that you can repeat things over and over and get that kind of like sweet spot of something, where in stage, well, once you're out there, you are out there, and there's no going back to one once the scene starts, once the curtain rises.
Yeah.
You just gotta go. And
Scary.
it's also super exhilarating because you are just there relying on your crew and your fellow castmates if you have them, and there's a real freedom and exhilaration to that too. But yeah, I think film has really helped me also with just memorization. I've always been really crappy at memorizing lines.
Really?
Not my forte, but having to do film and having to do stuff really on the fly sometimes has actually been really helpful in new techniques and getting lines shoved into my head as quickly as I need to sometimes.
That's a good, I would have thought, that, acting on stage, you kind of have to have a better memory. But that's a good point that sometimes with film, it comes like it's spontaneous and sometimes something is changed on the fly and then you have to remember it. Is that kind of a challenge that you faced when you first were doing film stuff?
Yeah, I think when I was first doing film stuff, I had it in my theater brain that you have to get the line exactly right every time. And with film, it's much more, especially if the screenwriter is there, you can be more fluid with it and maybe explore different perspectives, and maybe as running the scene a few times, you come up with a different sense of where the character ought to be going in that scene than you originally thought, and you can shift stuff around. You can't really do that on stage once you've developed a piece. Mostly. Going back to the one we just did, it's a piece in development. And so I got handed a new line on opening night. So I think, it was kind of cool, but kind of scary. So I think doing film has helped me be a lot more flexible with just letting my mind kind of absorb and just do what it needs to do in the moment and not be quite so hung up or tied to word precision, which I think was really a gift to be able to learn to do.
Yeah, that's a pretty fascinating kind of what you learn from doing the two different types of acting. So what inspired you to, or what about this project, Normal, like just grabbed your attention and made you want to be a part of it?
I've actually known David for quite some time, and we'd never gotten to work together. I knew his work, I knew the kind of stuff he likes to do. So I was really excited to do it just because I wanted to work with him. But I read the script and it's like, it was just so intriguing, yet so mundane. I mean, anyone who's ever been in a long-term relationship where they live with someone, it can be, parent, child, siblings, whomever, you spend enough time in the same, house or apartment with people long enough, you start to develop this, inner monologue of yourself responding to them. And I think we all probably do this. You never say it out loud, and of course no one really hears it. And so I was really fascinated by this concept of not just your standard kind of exposition kind of voiceover that you get in a lot of film and even theater, but it truly being the audience in on that inner monologue of each character, and just how beautiful it can be when we really actually talk to each other ultimately. It was just,
Yeah.
I was just intrigued by the way he structured that script and wanted to share that kind of innermost piece of people in an everyday situation.
Yeah, I really like the kind of interplay within the character's mind between what they were thinking and what they decided to divulge. And it was just really genius, like the way that that was written. Was there anything about the character specifically that you're excited about? You're like, oh, this moment, like maybe towards the end where you kind of freak out, like, oh, I like that's going to be fun to do that, or anything like that that you noticed?
Yeah, I was super actually really interested in the first little argument that they have, and because it's just such a ridiculous little argument, and it's that kind of thing that everybody has, but it's funny and it's kind of fun to do. So I was looking forward to that. But yes, I mean that final scene where they really kind of just actually say what's been going on in their minds this whole time is was really it was so well written too, that the way he crafted it, and I was really excited to kind of put that kind of emotion out there that I think all of us have felt at some point in a relationship. But what and the way he did it was just, to use the title of the film, was just so normal. And I think film often tries to really heighten these scenes into something that's way more dramatic than it really ends up being in real life. So people have these arguments and then they're fine later. And in film, we really focus on, because it's good storytelling, right? You have to focus on that, argument, and that's the thing that pivots them into a breakup or something else. But I love that this was
That's a
really
good
focused
point.
on just how beautiful it can be just to stay in that space and it not be catastrophic. And that is just a day-to-day life of folks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That is relatable, like sometimes you get into these big fights and then you get over it, like quickly and but like you're right on in films, a lot of time a lot of times a fight like that leads to something big happening, like a divorce, like that was touched upon in the film, like but yeah, it's pretty cool that he decided to write it in a different way. It made it feel more fresh. So, what about the process of filming this specific film? What did you think about it? That moment, for example, felt kind of like a play. Um, so, what was this experience like for you?
I mean, it was great. Justin, I think you talked to yesterday, and David and Alexa was on set with us. They run a really tight ship, which was fabulous. So it was this really nice balance, just on set wise, this really nice balance of being very focused, getting the shot, but letting everybody explore and consider and redo things as we went. The main challenge that I found, really talking about memorizing lines and having that kind of structure, is because so much of the film isn't said out loud, but you have to leave gaps while you're shooting it for those lines. That was
Oh,
that was really challenging at first, because some of those lines are somebody else's. You're having like this full conversation in your heads, and you're like, how much time do we leave? How much time do we sit here and not talk before we get to the next, because you can't hear each other in the conversation.
and
It
do you have
was
to have
really,
those lines in the back of your mind, like so
yeah.
you're making the faces, like reacting?
Yeah, yeah, it's a really good thing to bring. Good point you bring that up. That's the other part that was interesting, because you have to know that, like, my character's mind, I'm thinking about, man, I just need to buy new jeans and this kind of thing. But you need to have that on your face for the camera, that that's what's happening in your head. But you're having to time that out against what your acting partner is thinking in their head
Wow,
and
that's
trying to put on their face, because you can't hear each other. We tried a few different ways of doing it with someone kind of like doing kind of APD just under their breath, kind of actually saying the lines so that we could sort of react to it. We tried just leaving the gap and just running through it in our heads. And I'm not sure ultimately which takes they used, but yeah, that was definitely a challenge.
wow. I didn't consider that. Like that.
I didn't
And
either until we really got on set trying to do it. And well, we had a rehearsal day, which is invaluable. And I was like, oh, this is going to be weird.
yeah. Did you have to record the lines like in a studio or something after?
Yeah, our sound guy has a it's really amazing home studio, and so we did all of the lines recorded after that, and just in the studio, which was kind of nice because every actor's like film actor just they hate doing voiceover work when you're trying to match your own mouth again. Just it's just awful. And the nice part of that this is we didn't have to match our lips at all, just our faces.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, you said it's not like the ADR. It's just, it,
Yeah, it's ADR, but it's not because you're still doing the loop. You're still having to kind of match the timing of it
yeah, that's true.
and the emotion that you're seeing on your own face, which is still that challenge of being there. But at least, man, at least you don't have to match your lips.
Yeah. Have you done or had you done voiceover work before that?
Yeah, I've had to do ADR for films in the past. Man, a couple of films like they were shot outside, like under a highway overpass. I think we had to reshoot like the entire scene, like I don't know, like a 10-minute scene was ADR'd, and I never want to have to do that again if I don't have to.
Uh,
It's just really hard to kind of make to recreate whatever is happening in that moment when you really shoot it. It's really hard to recreate in a little booth where you can't move, or
yeah.
whatever that setting is.
I guess it's hard to like focus on the acting part because you're also focusing on the lip movement part.
Yeah, exactly. And you're trying to reconjure whatever that emotion was that, you shot a year and a half ago and kind of trying to remember what that even felt like at the time. So you're internally sort of reconjuring something that's going to make sense is really challenging.
What about for like animation? Have you done any voiceover stuff?
I have not. I would love to, though. I think that would be a blast. And yeah, maybe one of these days I'll get a chance to do something like that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. And the other thing I wanted to ask is like, what would you say is your takeaway from this experience? What did you learn from this specific film about your performance that you maybe will take with you into another performance in the future?
That's a really good question. Um, I think I just learned a little bit more about the flexibility I kind of mentioned before, being more, how do I put it, more vocal about ideas that may or may not work. Because sometimes you get in there and they got this whole camera all set up and ready to go, and you kind of feel like you don't want to do anything that's going to make them have to move anything. But sometimes it's just, well, the way ultimately you have something set up might not serve what ultimately needs to happen. And so being a bit more okay with saying, I know we said we're going to do this whole thing at the end of the bed, but if we start over here, it just makes more sense. And sometimes that works, and sometimes you just can't do it logistically. Totally get that too. But yeah, just understand there's more. When you have a really good crew and a really good director working with you and other really good actors on set, you can have those kinds of better conversations about how to marry up the performance with the technical side of shooting the film to make a better film ultimately.
Yeah, I think sometimes they're like the best additions or changes to a film could be the ones that are very bold and feel like, wow, that's like a big change to what we had planned. And sometimes those changes are sometimes uncomfortable, but sometimes they're the best and they like really help the film. And I've experienced that as well. I guess I just wanted to talk, go back to the part where you kind of freaked out because that part this stood out to me. And I just want to hear kind of what if you thought about it before you did it, if it was just kind of a natural thing. I know you rehearsed and stuff, but what went into that moment, do you think? Did you put thought into it or did it just come out naturally? Like,
I think the shape of that came through rehearsal. And, maybe being a stage person, I really, having a luxury of rehearsal day for film is not often something you get. But you really find nuances and things and ways into an emotion or a scene by having a little bit of rehearsal time. I think when we first were doing it, we were thinking of it being a bit, I don't know, like playing with how explosive it ought to be. And whether ought it to be more of a quiet argument almost, like more of a CV kind of a thing, less of an explosive one. And ultimately in rehearsal for me, what I found is that, well, the name of the film is Normal. And that's what really sets her off, is him saying he wants to be normal, which you wouldn't think of as being a bad thing. But when I allowed his character saying that to be that last little like stab in the back almost sensation, it's like him calling us normal was like this ultimate insult to me,
Yeah.
to everything we were together. And when I let that kind of resonate with me, that really prompted this explosion of, why would you want that? We're so much more than that. Why do you want to strip us back to something that's that?
Exactly.
So I think it's where a lot of that came from. It's just working with David and working with Justin, who had brilliant suggestions of ways to kind of nudge and tweak how to run the scene, and just really find that moment of, what is it that makes someone explode in a moment? What's that tipping point for them? And I love
Yeah.
that we were able to find that it was because she wanted to have this beautiful, extraordinary relationship. And it was so frustrating to her that he didn't seem to want that.
That resonated with me. Like, I'm kind of in your character's camp with that. And I know a lot of people are kind of, they're fine with just a normal life and stuff. And but I'm kind of like your character, and I want to do something bigger and greater. And so I think it resonated with me directly. And I just, the way you kind of had that specific outburst, I think added a very climactic punch to the film, and it just felt very authentic. Like, it wasn't overacting at all. It just felt so real, and that's like, it hit me. And so, and just like, yeah, like the themes of the film and that moment kind of converged, and it just yeah, it really connected with me. I think a lot of other people will, probably have already felt that, and will in the future. So
Yeah, I
yeah, I
hope
thought that was great.
good.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much everything for the interview. But it was great talking to you and learning about your background and kind of your process. So yeah, and thank you for taking time to do this as well, and look forward to your future projects.
Yeah.
Any projects that are coming up? You said you're working on a play, or you already did?
Yeah, just wrapped a play recently, or just closed. Theater is closing a show, not wrapping it. Um,
Uh,
David, I don't know if he dished, but he actually has another script in the works that I'm going to be involved in, and so I'm kind
oh,
of
cool.
looking forward to that. And I don't know, taking a little time away from the theater until maybe next year, but definitely eyeing a couple of things in town on stage that are happening too.
Let's get started. Excited to talk to you guys about the your film Normal, and just learn a little bit more about what went into it. And because as I mentioned in the review I did, I really loved it. I thought it was really well written and well acted and well shot. So definitely want to get into that. And let's just start though. If you could both just kind of introduce yourselves, tell me a little bit about how you got into filmmaking and film acting. Yeah, let's talk about that.
My name is David Girard, and I got into film. I started off in the theater first, and I had a friend refer me to another friend who was making a film, and that's pretty much how I got started. Uh,
Mm.
did a lot of shorts at first, And then we were able to do um, our feature, The Artifice Girl, with Britt, and things just took off from there. But this is actually the first uh, film that I wrote.
Hmm.
Um, decided to be in it because short films have no budget. So yeah, that's how I got started.
And just quick question, what age did you get started in acting?
Oh, I've been acting my entire life, but I was about 26, 27 when I really got into theater, and I didn't know if I could do film, and I still really love just being on stage in the theater. But uh, film is really interesting. And I love movies, so the fact that I actually get to do them now is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Britt?
Name is Britt McTammany. I've been in the business since I was 18. I started as a composer, post production, and then moved into editing. And I've done everything post. I had my own post house for 20 years. Of course, that whole time I was taking photos and stuff. And ironically enough, when the Canon 5D Mark II came out and it shot video, I was like, whoa. Because I didn't like the look of, camcorders and stuff like that. And affording film back then was pretty expensive. I mean, I did work on film sets as a technical supervisor for post production, mostly commercial work. Did a lot of Ford and some stuff like that, which was great. But then when it became accessible, I really embraced it and have done two features and God, I don't know how many shorts. And David's an old friend of mine. We've worked on I don't know how many projects together, and he reached out to me and said, "Would you shoot it?" I said, "Are you kidding? Of course I'm going to shoot it." And we got some of our buddies together, Justin being one, who's also another great DP, but a writer, director, and doing all the things like we all do, right? Just trying to make it happen. And yeah, so I was an editor, a composer and an editor originally, probably you could say. I I did edit color, and I think Thomas did the sound, and
Yes.
yeah, we just got a small tight knit community here in Jacksonville, and so
And how exactly did you two meet again?
Me and Britt through
yeah,
Yeah.
a friend of ours. His name is Franklin,
yeah,
and Britt and Franklin had worked together for years. And I met Franklin through a friend of mine named Pablo. And what was the first thing we worked on, Britt?
I don't know. I was just trying to remember that. I know.
Mhm.
Was it? It couldn't have been Extinguisher.
No, we did something before Extinguisher.
That's the one that comes to mind first because it was such a cool piece. We did this short. It was a oneer, and it was about a fireman who finds something crazy. But what else was before that? I mean, there's been at least.
Yeah, we've worked on so many projects together. I can't remember the first one, but Franklin introduced me to Britt, who he had worked with for years, and Britt and I are like the old men of the crew, so we we really get along. Um, but yeah,
Okay, nice. Well, just curious about, Britt, you talking about composing. Did you keep doing that, or you kind of focusing more on DPing now?
I still write music. I don't do much for film, but it definitely. I mean, David is also a musician, and so it really helped. It helps me in any project I work on, but in this one specifically, David had pretty strong ideas about what he wanted to use musically, and just so happened we were able to get the rights to use the music that's in the piece, and we supplemented it with some library stuff that was of a similar nature. But um, yeah, so
Nice.
I don't do scoring anymore. I mean, I might do a little bit for a film project that I'm working on if it calls for it, but a lot of times needle drop is so good now, and as much
Yeah.
as I hate to say it, AI music is actually becoming more of a viable option.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, because licensing can be, oh yeah, expensive, but In terms of scoring, yeah. I mean, do you mean in terms of scoring using AI?
Yeah, I haven't used it a lot, but it's nice when you can be very specific about what you're looking for. You can find, I use Artlist a lot, and
Mhm.
Artlist is great, but you have to listen through 85 billion cuts of music to find the
Yeah.
right one. With AI, you can kind of get it going down a path quicker. I hate to say that, but I mean, AI is not going anywhere, so I'm trying to embrace it, but also not put my artist friends out of work, because it's a weird situation we're in with all that. I know this isn't about that specifically, but I've been on a number of podcasts regarding AI in our industry and stuff, and like you, I use ChatGPT because it's a useful tool, and I also use 11 Labs because there's certain projects that I work on where I have no budget, and I
Yeah.
use Midjourney and I use Higgsfield and all these different places. But I'm not going to get too deep into that. But no, I don't write music anymore for film. I do write music for fun.
Hmm.
My kids are singers, so we like to record stuff. But
Nice. Well, this is like the third interview I've done this season with different filmmakers, and there seems to be a theme of a lot of filmmakers start out doing something different, like, and then they switch. Like, someone starts out as an actor, and then they switch to going behind the camera, or vice versa. And it's interesting how that happens. Um, but yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the film Normal and kind of the inspiration behind it. Um, you know, David, your inspiration to write it, and Britt, your inspiration to kind of to work on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so this all came about. I was at the Cordillera Film Festival in Reno, and I've been sitting at this table for like 2.5 hours just talking film, 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 film. And I found my mind just drifting. And then it was like, oh my God, if these people could hear my thoughts right now, they may not like it. And so that was that's when the idea popped in my head of that would be really cool to do, is to, you know, have thoughts coming, that no one else can hear. I chose the relationship though because when people have been together for a long time, it's almost like they know what the other's thinking, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, this would be a very cool vehicle to
Yes.
to show that part of the relationship, but it's to put it up against like the backdrop of a normal day because nothing amazing happens, during the course of that day. And that was, I think, for me, that was the hardest part writing because it's hard writing something so boring and basic, And then,
Mhm.
but I knew that the thoughts in their heads would actually make the film.
Yeah, I
And
thought that was genius. That premise, and just I like that you didn't also just make kind of the obvious jokes with it. Like you you tackled it from different angles, and there's a lot of depth to it. It wasn't just like, oh, this person keeps predicting what the husband does. Like, I could see someone else doing it that way, where it's like the same joke, but you covered it from different angles, where sometimes they made a correct prediction and sometimes they made an incorrect prediction. Sometimes it was, kind of passive aggressive. Sometimes it was sweet, and I thought that was really well executed, and the premise itself was genius. And I'm like, it's one of those ideas. It's like, how have I not thought of that? How have I not seen that before? So yeah, I really love that. What do you think,
thank you.
Britt?
that's exactly what I said when I read it. I'm like, this seems so obvious that it should be done,
Yeah.
and I've never seen it done before. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it was a great concept. Uh, great great first script from you, David. I mean, geez. Um,
Thank you.
and there was some technicality to it. It's like, how do we pull this off without it being campy or cliche or kind of dumb, but just kind of natural. And so Justin, David, and I talked a lot about how how those things would interact. We planned a lot for this,
Yeah.
so I think that really helps any project. It raises the caliber of it when you do plan and do talk and do discuss ideas, and we're all on the same page in terms of making the best film we possibly could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm debating whether to ask you right now or later, but I think I wanted to ask about the shot from going from outside to inside is like amazing. So yeah, if you could tell me a little bit about that. I thought it was really well done, and someone who maybe isn't into filmmaking wouldn't have like taken them out of the film, and it didn't really take me out of the film, but I like appreciated it. I was like, that wow, that was like genius, and it was just so smooth, and it's kind of like it's one of those things like you don't know how it was done. It's like, how did you even do that?
Nice. Yes,
yeah.
I want it to be a mystery. No, no. Well, we that was probably early on when we were doing. We did. I don't know if we didn't do a full previs on the thing, but we did a pretty extensive location scout, and that scene is in David's home, and I had been there before, so I kind of knew a little bit about it. But Justin and I talked, and I said, I think we can get a Dana dolly out this window, because we were shooting on Arri Alexa, which is a kind of a heavy camera. It's not like we could do something with a gimbal we didn't have a Trinity or any crazy Steadicam stuff, but we did have a Dana dolly. So we put a couple of 8-foot poles on a Dana dolly, and we just started it outside and brought it in. And the window is a VFX shot that I did just to bring that reflection. It's super subtle. I don't even know if people even really notice it, but
it's noticeable.
Yeah, okay.
If you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, so if you look, you might have noticed it, Dave, because you're in the business and look at that stuff. But you come in and the sound changes and the reflection shows up, and people are like, "How the hell did they do that?" So that we basically just composited that in.
Well, you fooled me, yeah, because I couldn't. I think I'm like, I didn't know if it was visual effects, it was practical or a blend, and so no, it definitely didn't look like off or anything. It just was like such a good shot that I like noted it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But that was
Thank
awesome.
You, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. So all right. I mean, I guess let's talk about just more of the process of shooting it. Anything come up that was a challenge, something unexpected? It usually happens, or even an idea that maybe wasn't planned and just came out of nowhere. Anything like that happen?
Oh yeah. So they're doing this, we're getting the long shot from Karen to me and from me to Karen. And they were like, I think we need to raise the couch. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, we need to raise the couch. And I'm like,
yeah, it was because of that dolly shot.
yeah.
And it was because we could only get the camera so low once we brought it inside. And we wanted to keep the framing as close to the same as it was in that beginning shot. But the couch was too low, so we had to put it up on Apple boxes so that, because we were trying to minimize cuts as much as possible. We didn't want to do a oneer because it wasn't necessary, but I think that early on we understood how strong the story was, and of course having two really good actors, you want to let them act, right? So in my mind, that means less camera movement, less crazy technical shit, and more just telling the story as simply as possible. And to me, that's fewer edits, and that was really more Justin's idea, which I totally agreed with, though. But that was a slight technical hurdle.
Yeah. So in the film, there are times when I'm sitting on the couch, but I'm sitting on the couch on top of Apple boxes, and I'm
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's like a good example of thinking outside of the Apple box, if you will.
There you go.
because I think maybe if I were in that situation, I might just be like, oh, the sofa's just too low, you know? I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought, oh, maybe we should put it on something. I would just say, oh, we can't make this higher any other way. Like, it might not even have occurred to me. So, that shows you're thinking outside the box and being resourceful. So that's awesome.
I've been making films longer than you've been alive, so just a little bit of set wisdom to you.
Well, what about David? Your process in terms of acting, anything you want to talk about regarding that, and working
Sure.
with Karen?
First of all, shout out to Karen Konzen. She is a beast. Like, I've seen her probably in at least 10 theater shows, and she takes the biggest roles with the most words, and she's so flawless.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been trying to work together for probably 15 years, but the right
Wow.
people never came up. And the moment I finished the script and I was like, okay, Karen, like her name just popped in my head, and I'm like, exactly. That's the only person I want for this. Um, and Karen and I, we met probably about 6 times, and we just talked and rehearsed and talked and rehearsed. And we wanted to find
Wow.
the nuances in each character. And she's such a great scene partner. Um, and I can tell you, we shot the argument first. That was the first thing
Uh-huh.
we shot. And Justin wanted it to feel like the audience shouldn't be in the room, right? Because you don't
Wow. Yeah.
watch people argue. And it was through the rehearsal, we just found ways of making it as interesting as possible, to where in that part of the film it almost feels like you're watching a stage play.
Yes,
You
I
know?
noticed that.
Yeah, so which I thought was a great touch to put in the film. So I think that as far as the acting goes, it was just Karen and I just really coming together to find out who these people really were. It was because I didn't give them any names. I didn't want them to have names, so
Mm-hmm.
that people would insert themselves into the characters, and it's really hard to do when you have a name.
Mm-hmm.
I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I'm nothing like James, but uh,
Huh.
it's really hard to say, okay, I'm nothing like that man. So I really wanted people to put
Hmm.
themselves in the character shoes. And as far as I know, I think we pulled it off.
Yeah, and I think that shot, during the fight, is that it's just being static like that is like jarring in a good way, because it's, in the beginning there's like, these cool shots, there's close-ups, and then it's just like it hits you like this is, just capturing the fight as like a play. I think it's a cool shift. It's a nice dynamic there. All right.
If you go back and look at it, there's actually about a 3-minute dolly push.
Yeah,
It's so slow,
yeah,
but it was by design because we didn't want you to pay attention to what the camera was doing, but we
Yeah.
wanted you to get closer as they get deeper into this, discussion, to put it politely.
Yeah, that was I really appreciate when films have like a climactic moment. I mean, it's kind of a common thing to do, but sometimes like films kind of have lost that. So at least some that I've seen have lost that climactic moment. I love when a film does that. It gets to that point, and I think that fight was a very climactic moment, and I loved Karen's kind of like outburst there. It was the film was kind of teetering between comedy and drama, and then that like hit you like this is dead serious in this moment.
yeah.
And she really like I loved that moment from her, and obviously your acting off of her was awesome as well. Anything you could tell me about maybe preparing for that, or the process of just doing that part?
Well, that was for me and Karen because we truly adore each other, and really hard to look at this person you've known for so long and then be like, okay, now it's time to fight, you know. And I think we did 8 takes of the argument because Justin was like, I really want you to be tired, okay, of arguing. And in rehearsal, I don't think we ever made it all the way through the fight because we would just start laughing. Like it was just ridiculous
Yeah, it's hard.
for us to be fighting. But I loved how we were able to create 2 different arguing styles. Um, and for me, with Karen, she never backed down. So you never got the sense that this woman was not as strong as this man. Like she seemed, and to me, she actually seemed stronger and more grounded, um, especially in the argument. And I was glad that was able to come through. But I think it was just a rehearsal part. Again, just finding those nuances to make these people real.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me, I did like an acting exercise one time that like I feel like it's like traumatized me because I just think back on it and it just makes me cringe. It was literally me and a woman, and the exercise was you have to say one line over and over. I forget what the line was, but then the teacher would count or say a number 1 to 10, and you had to increase the intensity of what you were saying. So when she got to 10, I'm like screaming at this girl I don't even know, like at the top of my lungs. I just felt like, oh my God, I never want to do anything like that again. But I don't know. For some people, I guess, for some actors, that helps them feel free and like lose their awkwardness. But for me, it's like I feel like that like scarred me. I
Yeah,
feel
no,
bad.
it was. I mean, It was funny because I was exhausted by the time we got to the 8th take, and Karen comes to me and she's like, "Can we do it again?" And I'm like, "What is wrong with you? Why do you want to do this
Wow,
again?" Yeah,
she's very committed to that. Yeah.
yeah, no, she loved this character. She doesn't do a lot of films. She does way more theater. But I just knew she's so good. She could do any film she wanted to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. No, it's not my favorite thing to do, but to argue.
Yeah. I think going back to what something I mentioned earlier is that planning was very important. And they got together a lot and they went through it a lot and they talked about it and about the emotions and it just felt natural. I mean, that to me is what makes any film performance great is that you're not even questioning that this is an actor inside of a character. It's just
Yeah.
it's just a thing. It's just an entity. It's a character that you completely believe in. I always have that litmus with any actors that I work with. If it's like if I feel like you're acting, and then it's not going to work for me. But
Yeah,
so,
totally. And it seems like, you know, that those rehearsals like helped you feel comfortable with each other. So, you know, her screaming at you, you know, came maybe more naturally, and like, you know, because, you know, me screaming at a stranger, I did not feel comfortable doing that. But anyway, I just want to talk about kind of your kind of like maybe the message or the takeaway you kind of want audiences to have, you know, after watching this film. Like, what were you thinking, like you wanted to communicate to the audience?
Well, for me, the moment where he realizes that she can hear his thought in that moment. The fact that he doesn't pay attention to that, it's more the fact that she called him predictable. Like normal people would be like, "Oh my gosh, she heard me." But he's like, "Okay, this woman just called me predictable." And I think the message is there because we care about what our spouses or significant others think about us, you know, and that's not revealed about how much he cares about that until that moment. So I think what I wanted the audience to take away with is relationships are hard and messy, and we all have our shit in them. But
Definitely.
when she gets to that point where she's like, "We're not getting divorced like normal people," to me that's the message. Like you don't always have to give up just because things are hard.
That's a
You know,
great. Yeah.
you can fight for it if you care enough. And because
Yeah.
he was so hurt by being called predictable, you know, uh, I think to me that's a lot of people in relationships. Like the slightest thing can set them off.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
That's definitely a great message. It's awesome. And last question for both of you is, what do you think you kind of learned from this experience, to take into the next film or the next project? What is something that kind of, you really are going to take away from this?
For me, the crew that we had on Normal is the only crew I'll work with from now on. I've worked with Britt, I've worked with Justin, but the crew, we actually shot that. I don't even think it took us 15 hours to shoot the whole thing.
Wow.
We shot the bedroom scene and the bathroom. We did that probably in 3 hours, maybe 3.5.
Wow.
And then the next day, the only thing that took the most time was us waiting for the sun to set. So it could be nighttime. But everybody was committed to the project. Everybody came in and hustled. It was an amazing experience. So if I can keep that crew on every project going forward, yeah.
That's actually crazy. Almost 15-minute long film in you said under 14 hours. Like, yeah, I've done like 5-minute films that take me the whole day. So that's really efficient. It's
Yeah, they
awesome.
were. And Britt knows this. Everybody that came in, and the Alexa who ran production, she put this crew together. Alexa Went, who's phenomenal, and I remember us having a meeting. We were at a coffee shop, and she just looked at me and she was like, "You don't worry about a thing, okay? You worry about nothing." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." But yeah, I think, if I have any takeaway from that, is like I know every face, every name I want to work with on any project going forward.
It's awesome. What do you think,
Yeah,
Britt?
I think the reason everything went so smoothly is because we spent a lot of time planning.
Mm-hmm.
I did location diagrams with Justin. We talked about how all the camera moves were going to work. We had everything sorted out. I had done a lot of coordination work with my gaffer Tom Seidel and my key grip Jeremy Blakelock, so they knew what gear we needed. That I told them before we even were showing up. I said, "This is generally what I want to see." And to David's point, I mean, it's great to be able to trust your people that you're working with, right? So I hope that David didn't. I know David didn't feel that he had to worry. He only had to focus on his performance because he knew everybody else was doing their shit and doing a good job of being a pro. It was a very smooth pro set, no issues whatsoever that I can think of, other than trying to scrounge up an Apple box to get the sofa up higher. But that, I mean, I'm teasing, of course, but nothing out of the ordinary. But I want to. I probably with Justin spent another couple of days just planning. So. But I mean, I'm a huge proponent of being prepared before you even pull out a camera or anything, as much as you possibly can. A lot of great people. Cameron Graves, Script Soup, Tom Ameson on audio. Audio is always great. Abigail Hickox, Akash was my first EC. This was kind of a different one for me. I'm used to operating like everything myself, as you know, many short films are. So it was really wonderful to have. Well, I mean, Justin's probably a better DP than I am. He but we work together well because I feel like, and I said, well, you know, I could ask him like, well, what do you think about this angle? What do you think about this move? Do you think that that works? And he's knowledgeable enough to know that. This is something that I mentor to young students, and I say, try everything. You don't know what you're going to be great at. You don't know what you're going to be horrible at, but unless you try, you're never going to know. I mean, you might be the best first AC ever born, but unless you pull focus, you're never going to know. Or even acting, right? I mean, I think that any director and writer should try acting courses because it's going to help them understand the perspective of that actor and what they have to, the mental process they have to go to inhabit that character and bring that script to life, because it's really all about the story, and the story is how it is what's written. And so of course, there's a lot of interpretation by everybody involved, but I'm a huge fan of just letting everybody try and do as much as they can. And I think that's where short films really are crucial in a development of a young filmmaker, because you have the opportunity to experiment and to learn so much.
Well, I think something great is that you talk a lot about planning, but at the end of the day, you were still able to shift gears. And I think being able to do both is really important. You don't want to be so rigid on your plan that you can't adapt. But so it looks like you're able to do both things, and that's super important to have those two qualities. And something I said in another interview is that I work with another filmmaker who he is more the planning type, and I'm more the spontaneous type, and I'm not that good at planning. I wish I was better at it, but we complement each other. So I think it's cool if one person can have both qualities. It's even better. But
Sure.
So it sounds like you have that. So that's great.
Well, I mean, it's surrounding yourself with people that you have that balance. What you're alluding to is that you're more spontaneous, and he's more, of a planner, and that's fine. Yes, I plan so that I can make room for the inspiration, right?
Yeah.
So that, if, in this particular case, I'm trying to think if we had minor script tweaks and stuff like that, but we had plenty of opportunity for that because we were very well prepared. But I do agree with you. You have to leave room for spontaneity. You have to, there's a saying I use, and David's heard it before, we're harnessing chaos here.
Yep.
And, the more prepared, luck favors prepared. And if you do that work up front, then the chaos is a lot easier to manage, because inevitably shit will go sideways in one way or the other.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's minimal, and that when it does go sideways, it produces a good result, which I think that there has to be a little tension, because I think that inspires creativity.
That's true. Yeah. Well, that was awesome. It was, great to hear kind of behind the scenes of the project and the inspiration. And, and as I said, I really love this film, and just like so many aspects of it. So it was awesome to talk to you guys. And, thanks for, submitting to the festival and giving me a shot, since it's a new thing. But, I want to, spread the word about this film. I want everyone to check it out. And so, yeah, hopefully a lot more people will see it and enjoy it as much as I did,
That's great.
Thank you. Justin and I, because we did another film, and so we're going to do a double release for Lake Placid Blue and Normal together, since I act in both and he directed both. So we'll definitely keep you updated, so you can tell people where to find it online.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're just waiting to get together. Justin is so busy, and like we all are. So yeah, and I'll keep you updated and let you know when that happens.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, I was going to ask you about like upcoming projects, but yeah, that sounds good, and I'll definitely want to check that out. So All right. Well, it was great talking to you and meeting you both. Have a great rest of your night, and I look forward to talking to you guys again in the future.
And thank you so much for this.
All right. No problem. See ya. Bye.
See ya.